In a shocking turn of events, we could potentially see Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway using a portion of its $300 billion cash holdings to buy Bitcoin. Buffett has been a longtime critic of Bitcoin, but recent actions and statements from the Oracle of Omaha show that we could see Buffett adding Bitcoin to his trillion-dollar portfolio. So what are the details of this news? How likely is it that we will see Bitcoin in Berkshire's portfolio? And what effect would this have on the market? Stay tuned, because we are going to answer these questions and reveal the shocking truth. Also, just before we go any further, this channel has a daily giveaway of 1 million Shiba tokens. To enter, all you have to do is be subscribed to this channel, like this video, and comment hashtag Shiba Inu. So, let's have a quick history lesson on Warren Buffett's thoughts about Bitcoin. Warren Buffett has criticized cryptocurrency quite heavily in the past, calling it fraud and a bubble, and even said he wouldn't pay $25 for all the Bitcoin in the world.
There's all kinds of people watching this that are long Bitcoin, and there's nobody that's short, and nobody wants their windpipe stepped on. I don't blame them. I don't like people who step on my windpipe. But I would say this, that if the people in this room owned all of the farmland in the United States, and you offered me a 1% interest in it, and you said for a 1% interest in all the farmland in the United States, pay our group, let's see, pay us this bargain price, $25 billion. I'll write you a check this afternoon. $25 billion, now I own 1% of the farmland. If you tell me you own 1% of the apartment houses in the United States, and you offer me a 1% interest, so I'll have a 1% interest in all the apartment houses in the country, and you want whatever it may be for it, and call it another $25 billion or something, I'll write you a check. It's very simple. Now, if you told me you owned all of the Bitcoin in the world, and you offered it to me for $25, I wouldn't take it, because what would I do with it? I have to sell it back to you one way or another. I mean, maybe I have the same people, but it isn't going to do anything.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Does this not prove that Buffett is anti-crypto? Well, yes, but I will show why this matters, as various of the top players in finance previously had the same opinion, like BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, who previously stated that Bitcoin is a Ponzi fraud. But let's take a look at what Larry Fink is saying about Bitcoin now.
But, it would be 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 per Bitcoin.
As you know, I was a skeptic. I was a proud skeptic. And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong.
If you're frightened of your debasement of your currency, or you're frightened of your economic or political stability of your country, you could have an internationally based instrument called Bitcoin that will overcome those local fears.
BlackRock was also the main driver behind Bitcoin ETFs, so Larry Fink went from calling Bitcoin fraud to shilling it. But BlackRock isn't even the only one. Previously, JP Morgan has been very critical of crypto, blockchain, and Bitcoin.
This is the last time I've ever talked about this in CNBC, okay? So help me God. Blockchain is real. It's a technology. We use it. It's going to move money. It's going to move data. It's efficient. We've been talking about that for 12 years, too, and it's very small, okay? So I think we've wasted too many words in that. Cryptocurrencies, there are two types. There's a cryptocurrency which might actually do something. Think of a cryptocurrency as an embedded smart contract in it, and that we can use it to buy and sell real estate and move data. That may have value.
The idea of tokenizing things.
Tokenizing things that you do something with. And then there's one which does nothing. I call it the pet rock, the Bitcoin or something like that. And so on the Bitcoin, there's, first of all, and I'm not trying to make a joke here. There are use cases, AML, fraud, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, sex trafficking. Those are real use cases, and you see it being used for hundreds, maybe $50 or $100 billion a year for that. That is the end use case. Everything else is people train among themselves. So
speculate.
Yeah. Now, my last statement, the last time I ever talk about Bitcoin, is I defend your right to do Bitcoin. I think, it's okay. I don't want to tell you what to do. So my personal advice would be don't get involved. But I don't want to tell any one of you what to do. It's a free country.
But JP Morgan is now creating its own blockchain service. And now, JP Morgan even holds a portion of Bitcoin ETFs. Quite the turnaround for two of America's biggest and most famous investors. Could we see Warren Buffett making the same turnaround? The evidence points towards yes. We researched and found as much information as possible and then gave it to Elon Musk's AI Grok and asked it to give an unbiased analysis on if this is possible. Here is what it had to say. Since Warren Buffett's most notable criticisms of Bitcoin, such as calling it rat poison squared in 2018 and reiterating his skepticism in subsequent years, the cryptocurrency landscape and broader financial ecosystem have undergone significant transformations. These changes could theoretically make a small Bitcoin ETF allocation more appealing to Berkshire Hathaway, even for a crypto skeptic like Buffett, as a hedge against economic uncertainties. Here's how things have evolved and why it might make sense for Buffett to reconsider. Firstly, is Berkshire Hathaway already has exposure to cryptocurrency through New Holdings. New Holdings, the parent company of Nubank, is a Brazilian fintech giant offering digital banking services like checking accounts, credit cards, and loans through its mobile app. And it has significantly integrated cryptocurrency into its operations, including New Crypto for buying and selling Bitcoin and other digital assets, NewCoin as a blockchain-based loyalty token, and New Invest for crypto-related investments, positioning it as a leader in crypto adoption in Latin America with over 100 million users. Berkshire Hathaway, under Warren Buffett's leadership, invested over $1.1 billion in New Holdings, starting in 2021, marking its first notable foray into a company with direct crypto-related activities, which suggests a pragmatic shift in Buffett's traditionally skeptical stance on cryptocurrencies. Emergence of Bitcoin ETFs, including from major players like BlackRock. BlackRock, one of the world's largest asset managers, previously expressed skepticism about cryptocurrencies, calling Bitcoin an index of money laundering, reflecting a cautious stance shared by many traditional financial institutions. By 2024, BlackRock launched the iShares Bitcoin Trust, a spot Bitcoin ETF, providing regulated institutional-grade exposure to Bitcoin, addressing concerns about volatility, custody, and security. This ETF's launch, alongside other major ETF providers, has driven significant inflows, signaling mainstream acceptance. Bitcoin ETFs offer a regulated, familiar investment vehicle that aligns with traditional finance, reducing the risks Buffett associates with direct crypto ownership. A small allocation to IBIT or similar ETFs could be seen as a low-risk way to gain exposure without contradicting Berkshire's conservative approach entirely. U.S. government's Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. As of March 9, 2025, the Trump administration announced plans for a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, repurposing Bitcoin seized by law enforcement and exploring strategies to acquire more, positioning Bitcoin as a potential hedge against financial instability or a store of value akin to gold. The U.S. government's endorsement of Bitcoin as a strategic asset could legitimize it in Buffett's eyes, reducing his perception of it as purely speculative. If the government sees Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation or currency devaluation, Berkshire might follow suit with a small ETF allocation to diversify its massive cash reserves, especially in a low interest rate environment or amid global money printing. Since Buffett's early comments, global central banks have continued aggressive monetary policies, including low interest rates, quantitative easing, and massive money printing. This has devalued fiat currencies and driven inflation fears, pushing investors toward alternative assets like gold, real estate, and cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is increasingly viewed as digital gold, a decentralized store of value immune to government monetary policies, with significant value rises driven by ETF inflows and halving events, reinforcing its role as an inflation hedge. With Berkshire holding over $334 billion in cash, low interest rates yield minimal returns on this hoard. Bitcoin ETFs could serve as a hedge against currency devaluation and global money printing, especially if Buffett or his successors see parallels with gold. Given these changes, a small Bitcoin ETF allocation could make strategic sense for Berkshire, even for Buffett, for the following reasons. BlackRock, JP Morgan, and the U.S. government's moves signal Bitcoin's growing legitimacy, reducing Buffett's concerns about its speculative nature. It could serve as a hedge against inflation, money printing, and currency devaluation, especially given Berkshire's cash-heavy position. Despite these changes, the likelihood remains low to moderate for several reasons. Buffett's aversion to speculative, non-income-generating assets persists, and he may still see Bitcoin as lacking intrinsic value, even with ETFs. But Warren Buffett is a man in his 90s. He won't be spearheading Berkshire's movements anymore. This will be left more to Todd Combs and Ted Weschler, who represent a younger generation of investors and may prioritize growth, innovation, and adaptability, viewing Bitcoin as a legitimate part of a diversified portfolio. Finally, I asked Grok what is the realistic likelihood we see this happening, and it said the following. Berkshire is unlikely to add Bitcoin in the near term under Buffett's leadership due to his skepticism and philosophy, but under new leadership like Combs and Weschler, the probability rises to a moderate level, 20 to 40% over the next few years. A small, cautious allocation to Bitcoin ETFs is the most probable scenario, reflecting a balance between Berkshire's conservative roots and the need to adapt to a changing financial landscape. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. But just because the market is down doesn't mean you shouldn't be researching and looking for tokens to buy up when the market is down. So if you want to know some of the best crypto to buy now, then check out the video on screen now.